Usually, after an experience is done where I have been the facilitator, I take a deep breath, similarly as I have begun, and I'm more grateful that the experience was successful, and then I just go on about my day. But I would say that for me, in terms of taking the information that I learned from the session and improving upon it, I do like to have a bit of a debrief with the individuals who I may have been collaborating with to talk about some ideas um, for how they felt about the session, but also some ideas for what they think needs to happen going forward. And if I'm by myself, then I'll think about some ways that I could improve. For example, oftentimes if I'm leading a dialogue online and I don't have support like tech support, slide support, I notice that I tend to not use my slides as much. In fact, slides for me kind of bottlenecks the conversation because then I'm focused on what the slide says rather than steering the conversation where it needs to go for my participant group. So I will notice that if I'm not using the slides, that going forward, I probably won't use the slides or I'll use less slides.
I have a general sense of how things went and where I may have spent more time than I wanted to, or uh, when participants were more engaged or less engaged. And so I kind of make little notes to myself on on those things. I also try to chunk my sessions. So if I'm presenting, I don't try not to talk for longer than 10 minutes, and I take pauses and do checks for understanding. And that also, and during activities as well, that gives me, I also use that as processing time in the session. My processing is not just at the end, but I'm actively observing the learners, the participants, and seeing, okay, what is helpful or what's the next move. So I'm actively adapting to that. But in the end, if there sometimes, it's not always, that you have a feedback or follow-up survey type that asks people about their experience. But if I know it's a session that I'm going to do like soon again, I'll make notes to myself in a document somewhere if I have time.
Oftentimes I'm not at home, so I have a couple of hours to drive home and think about it. Usually, if it's a team facilitated experience, we will spend, at least a half an hour after the experience each day, and then at the end, debriefing and talking through some of the dynamics we observe, what we could have done differently, what went well, what we can maybe change about the way that something unfolded, or well, what if kinds of questions. So we do take a lot of time together to process. I take a lot of time personally to think about that and make notes for myself for the next time that I might be doing the same kind of thing.